Hello, everyone. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video tonight on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful evening wherever you are in this great, great world. We're going to talk about XRP. And I got to start with this. Everybody's downplaying the whole DTCC Ripple connection. And they're saying, oh, this only benefits this network or that network, especially Canton. Well, Brad said this, masterly understatement by Joel Katz, because David Schwartz said it seems important. You don't realize how big this actually is. And Smoke even pointed this out as well. The prices of cryptocurrencies will be set in the derivatives market. Take a listen.
Any commodity market, the price of the underlying commodity is actually not set in the physical or the spot market. The price is set in the derivative markets. Mature derivative markets are essential for price discovery because it's the one place that all the buyers and sellers can come together to agree on price. That's why the price of gold is not set in a jewelry shop. It's set in the derivatives market. The price of wheat is not set at a grain elevator. It's set in the derivative markets. The price of oil is not set at the gas pump. It's set in the derivative markets. So establishing well-functioning, healthy derivatives for crypto will provide a solid basis for price discovery.
So the DTCC will most likely be the one setting the price for XRP. And we all knew that XRP would have a set price in the future. I think the same thing is going to happen with XLM and XDC as well, and the rest of these ISO cryptocurrencies. This DTCC patent I found shows XRP, XLM as digital liquidity tokens in a framework for global asset tokenization. It shows integration of XRP and XLM as compatible networks within a cross-ledger liquidity framework. This comes from King Solomon. And you see it. I mean, they don't put this together and figure this out for no reason. It's because Ripple and Stellar, they were chosen a long time ago. And you see the XRP and XLM logos right here. This is going to be huge because the DTCC clears 3.7 quadrillion annually. It's not just going to run on one network. It's going to run on a handful of networks. Australia reportedly licensed a digital Australian dollar on the XRP ledger. So this is the AUDD stablecoin. It's the first regulated digital Australian dollar operating on the XRP ledger and legally authorized for institutional use. You know, we're going to see a lot of other stablecoins coming to the XRP ledger as well. It was built for this. And even if they don't utilize XRP to move this token, the gas fees will be paid in XRP anyway. But I'm sure whenever they need to move AUDD from Australia to another country, XRP will be the one moving it. Because no other country's going to accept this country's stablecoin or that country's stablecoin. They're all going to need a bridge. I stress that because a lot of people still have not figured that out yet. Bitwise's Matt Hougan called it the weekend that changed finance. He says, during Sunday's attacks in Iran, when all traditional markets were closed, Bloomberg turned to Hyperliquid's crude oil contract to gauge the impact for investors. If hedge funds and banks weren't looking at stablecoins or tokenized assets before this weekend, they're paying attention now. This whole conflict in Iran, I think it's meant to happen to change the financial system forever. I do believe we are now at the beginnings of the reset. The reset is playing out in real time right now. NVIDIA CEO says AI will create more millionaires in 5 years than the internet did in 20. But he didn't stop there. He reveals how it actually will happen, and he talks about AI. And he's also revealed why 2026 to 2030 is the last opportunity for regular people to build wealth. I always said it. This is most likely your last chance to get rich, even in crypto, because I think most of crypto is going to be gone very soon. What we're left with is going to be a handful of cryptocurrencies, but they're going to be expensive. Most of retail is going to be priced out of these cryptocurrencies. Now's the time to get rich. And you don't have until 2030. I believe all of this is going to play out by 2028. Everybody looks at the price of XRP today and they're like, it's not even above $2 yet. What's going on with XRP? Think about it like this. They're going to have set prices for these cryptocurrencies. Right now, it's all about shaking you out before it happens. They'll even allow the price to go up some and shake out even more people. I always said more people will get shaken out on the way up than the way down. When the price dips, sure, it shakes out some people. But most XRP holders, they're not selling their XRP. But if you raise the price, even diamond hands will sell their XRP. And then all of a sudden, you wake up one morning and the price of XRP is set and it's at a very high price. RippleX, head of engineering, details how AI will help strengthen the XRP ledger security from now on. Remember that bug that just happened on the XRP ledger and they utilized AI to fix that bug? Well, it looks like going forward, AI is going to boost XRP ledger security. But as XRP holders, we all know that crypto and AI, it's colliding together right now. We're holding the AI money just by holding XRP. And that's another reason I wouldn't rush to sell it. Think about the rise of AI and AI agents. There's not going to be a need for you to sell your XRP in the future. You'll hire an AI agent, and that agent will put your crypto to work for you, and it'll bring you daily returns on your crypto. And it's an industrial revolution. Most millionaires that became millionaires in previous industrial revolutions, they're still millionaires. And most of them never sold all their stock in those companies. And that's how they stayed millionaires. Don't become a millionaire in crypto and then sell your crypto. You gotta put it to work for you. Bitwise CEO Hunter Horsley says that the Bitwise XRP ETF is now the largest XRP ETF in America, and it pulled in $10 million in inflows so far this week. And those inflows, they're not slowing down. Remember, people said, well, we're going to see inflows early on, then all of a sudden, people will lose interest in the ETFs. I don't even think we've seen the best yet. In other words, when we see ETF FOMO as the price of XRP is breaking out, that will show you the real demand for XRP. You got to remember, a lot of institutional money, it's still sitting on the sidelines. They need those regulations before they go all in. And why are they all suddenly telling the truth? Billionaire just dropped a massive warning against Bitcoin. Take a listen to this.
I think the reality is that Bitcoin, for the most part at this point, there's a structural failing in Bitcoin that I think people will need to come and wrap their heads around. The structural failing is that it is not. So if you think about what is the value maximizing function right now for a crypto asset to be broadly adopted, it needs to have the features that allow a central bank to adopt it. And there are two things that it lacks. One is fungibility and two is privacy. And so Bitcoin fails on those two dimensions. So it can never be a structural holding of a central bank. Mm-hmm. And that simple thing will keep it in the realm of ETFs and humans. And
does gold satisfy those conditions?
Yeah.
Fungibility, but not easily.
Both. You have no idea how much the Bank of China owns. You don't know how many ounces they own. You don't know how many ounces I own. When there's a public ledger that says this address has this much, and you can't really trade it because you know the history and the provenance of that exact token. It's been used to buy this. It was transacted over here. It went to this wallet. That lack of fungibility and privacy is a huge deterrent for broad structural adoption. That's what you need to then add another 10x of market cap. So is there room for a different crypto asset that solves for the privacy and fungibility? Yeah. And are there projects right now? Yes, but they're very small scale. There's huge issues with them. Those are even more volatile.
I guess he doesn't know about XRP. But take notice, they're all starting to tell you the truth all of a sudden. XRP, or Bitcoin, is never going to see adoption. That is now happening for XRP. And it's true, Bitcoin has no privacy, and that's why the banks will never want it. And take notice, he said it's going to stay in the human era. In other words, it's not even going to be utilized by AI in the future. So more or less, he's telling you it has no future. And the belief system is eventually going to die off as well. All it takes is its market cap to get flipped one time and hold for even the smallest period of time. And that will end the belief system for Bitcoin forever. That's why I said once XRP takes the #1 spot, it's going to be permanent because the money will shift from Bitcoin into XRP so fast, people will be shocked by it. X Money timeline. People are still talking about this right now as well, making the connections between Ripple and X Money. So 2014, Ripple partners with Cross River Bank for payment technology. 2026, X Money launches with Cross River Bank holding deposits. So the chain looks like this: X Money to Cross River Bank to Ripple Tech history. Indirect connection, but interesting infrastructure overlap. Now, this does not solidify that X Money is going to be utilizing XRP, but I do believe that's the path forward for X Money. If you want to make it cheap and you want to make it fast and you want to use something that's going to be scalable and usable by everyone, I think that's the path, the best path forward for X Money. I'm sure we will find out more over time. Bitcoin price surges above $72,000. Why cryptos are defying Iran risk. Now, nobody knows why crypto is holding up the way it is right now. Everybody's trying to come up with different ideas, and it's all just speculation. I look at it like this. Just be happy that it's happening. It's better than watching XRP dip down below $1. But we need to have a breakout begin. I'm talking about a true breakout on the price of XRP. Once that starts, that's going to be the momentum we need. All of a sudden, retail will be back. Institutions will come flowing in at the same time. And I think the only thing holding that back still is the lack of regulations. I think the market itself is waiting for regulations as well. JP Morgan identifies a Clarity Act catalyst, and altcoins like XRP could benefit. So what they're talking about is the grandfather clause. Token classification framework distinguishes digital commodities overseen by the CFTC from digital securities regulated by the SEC. It also has to do with the language that they use. This is utility. This is speculation. That's going to be key with the Clarity Act. New projects get a grace period allowing up to $75 million in annual fundraising without full SEC registration, while building towards decentralization. He also says this could boost innovation and support venture activity within U.S. markets rather than offshore. Third, tokens initially sold as securities can transition to commodity status, sufficiently decentralized, and the issuer no longer exercises a managerial role. This unlocks broader secondary trading and allows institutional investors to use traditional brokers. That's going to be big. That will onboard the institutions. Fourth, clearer rules for crypto intermediaries include registration requirements and custody standards. Could allow institutions like BNY and State Street to directly custody digital assets. It'll allow the banks to offer digital asset solutions. In other words, custody, possibly even the sales of digital assets. Fifth is tokenization. Sixth, miners, validators, and software developers are exempt from broker-style reporting during development, providing they don't engage in custodial activity. The whole idea of Bitcoin mining being a thing in the future, that is also going to come to an end. They are going to transition all that power consumption towards AI and the future. Seventh, small transaction tax exemptions for everyday crypto payments. That's huge for us because you don't want every single transaction you make to be a taxable event. That will lead to mass adoption. Eighth, the legislation may boost tokenized deposits relative to stablecoins among institutions. What we need to see is these regulations put in effect as soon as possible. That puts us on the path for institutional adoption, which will then lead to mass adoption. And I think this is all going to happen over a 2-year period. But the clock started about 5 months ago. This will fast track everything going forward, but it has to get done. And I do believe if it doesn't get done by the midterms, this could get kicked down the road for another 12 months or so. The good thing is we're not relying on just the United States to get rich off of our XRP. The rest of the world, they're still pushing forward. And it's a very big world outside the United States. But until it all happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.